You did the work, you got great results, and you grew demand enough that you needed help, leverage, and support. And that's where your team came from. Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. I'm your host, Matt Smith, the founder of All or Nothing in Real Estate. As a reminder, this podcast is a movement to give back to this amazing industry that's given so much to me and my family. Guys, today is a very special episode. I feel like I say that every time, but I mean it. This is special to me. So glad you guys are here. Today we have a very special guest. We'll get a guest that I get the privilege to interview. I consider this guy a friend. He's a coaching client, and he is a hell of a leader that is making a massive impact in his state, in his business, and his business is growing astronomically in these challenging times. And so we're going to learn a lot from Mr. David Wenger. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor, man.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. Let's introduce you to the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, just kind of a brief background of who you are, where you came from, and how you got to where you're at today.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm down in Louisiana and went away to school, came back home, and just kind of started operating businesses. Had several different businesses throughout my life, and I was kind of at a turning point of where I was going to go and what I was looking to get into next. And I started exploring real estate. So got in as a solo agent. Took me a few months to figure it out. And once I did, started plugging away. So a few years as a solo agent, had pretty good success, and then decided that the team was the route to go for me. Too many leads, the same old story, and started out building out the team. So I went back to my roots of building businesses.
Really, really good. And you say same old story, but the truth be told, my friend, it's not. You started the team from the necessity to start a team. And I believe that's part of one of the secrets of why you've had the success that you've had. Um, what I see is some people start a team because it's the new cool hip thing to do. And those are the ones that I see typically struggling. And so when you say that, I just wanted to make sure that I give you the credit that you deserve. There is that so many people start a team because they got the real estate license. They see teams are the cool thing, and they think that a team means that I'll be a team leader sitting on the beach sipping Mai Tais, right? Umbrella drinks while everyone's making me money, and that's just not reality. And so you did the work, you got great results, and you grew demand enough that you needed help, leverage, and support, and that's where your team came from. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, and then also like other agents around me realized that I could help. So I could provide leads for them and also the support that they weren't getting otherwise.
Yeah,
So that's how it all started.
really, really good. And so, where are you at today? So, what is your team? How many transactions did you sell last year? How big was your team? And then, where are you at so far this year?
Yeah, it was cool. Going into 2025, we set a goal of doing 40 million in production. And we did that in December at a team meeting, and everybody thought I was out of my mind.
Yeah,
And the room just went silent. And kind of just asked everybody how we're going to do it. And everybody just started throwing out, we're going to call FISBOs, things like that. And I was like, no, we're going to believe. That's
yeah,
it. We're just going to believe we're going to do it, and we're going to figure the rest out. So 2025, the goal was 40 mil. We hit that way early. We ended up closing out the year about 67 mil. Did 335 transactions last year.
wow,
So head into this year, we're on pace to do much more. We've already closed out 135.
yeah.
So
So, talk to me about 2024. How many transactions did you do? Do you remember?
2024, we did about 113.
So, from 113 in 2024 to 335 in 2025. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Man, that's a hell of a trajectory of growth.
Right. And if you think about it, like that original year where we did about 140, I mean, we've already almost closed that out this year.
In one quarter.
Right.
Yeah. That's wild to think about, man. You and I were kind of chatting before we hit record, and it's weird as you start getting on this trajectory and you start getting that momentum. It's just like you kind of expect it, right? Just like it's just another day, right? And so it's just really, really cool. And I think that one of the things that I want to kind of dive into is um, where you're at this year versus last year specifically, because I think a lot of people listening could use that belief, right? Like you mentioned, and I think believe is one of our core values too. So it's crazy that that's what you like. That's actually our first core value. If you go read our core values, the first on the list is believe. And so you have to have belief in yourself, believe in your vision, your mission, what you're a part of, who you're a part of it with. And one of the things I think is really, really powerful with belief is borrowed belief. And I think we have a an obligation as people that have overcame and had some successes in our life to give back and share, which is why I do this podcast, right? One of the reasons. And so what would you tell someone that is like maybe of the mindset that, well, the market's really hard, it's really challenging, I want to grow, I want to sell more real estate, but the market isn't allowing me to do so.
Like as a team lead or a solo agent,
Either whatever comes to mind.
market doesn't matter. If you want to build out a business, do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't, whether it's a person, the market, interest rates, economy, politics, doesn't matter. If you want to build out, get to work.
I love it. Pretty simple.
That's it. Yeah.
And so, like, I think that that's why I asked that is because I knew that you had some of that mentality. I think that's great advice, and I believe it, right? But hopefully, your story is like belief that someone else that maybe wants to become a team leader, wants to grow. Don't wait for the market to get better to grow. The biggest opportunities right now. While everyone else is like wondering how they're going to make ends meet, this is the time that if you're able to grow in this marketplace, it's going to last a long time. And so I think now is the big opportunity. And so speaking of opportunity, so far this year, you have closed out 135 transactions. At this point last year, how many transactions had you closed?
I believe 52.
52 last year versus 135 this year. And so what's cool, man, is to see from 100 and something transactions, 330 transactions to now you're on pace for, I don't know, what would you say, 600 plus?
Our goal this year was 575, and I feel like we're going to outpace that.
Yeah. And it's really, really cool to see you double in your business 2 years in a row is what that would be, right?
Yep.
And funny enough, we were talking before the podcast, and you're like, "Did you feel this whenever you were kind of?" And we doubled our business 2 years in a row too. And so it's just really cool to see someone else that I look up to, and someone that's an amazing leader, great business operator, cares for his people, growing at that level. It's just really cool to see as your coach. It's really cool for me to see you apply at the rate of instruction and have this success.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal.
Yeah.
It's like you imagine that it could happen, and then you just become numb to it as it is happening because it's just become normal. But then when you look back on it, it's like, "Nah, I never imagined that would be this." But it's a weird thing as a business operator too, because it's also, I guess we all fight this, like, how much did I leave on the table?
Yeah.
Like how much potential was left untapped? How much more could I have done? How much should I do in the future? So, people that are ambitious and are entrepreneurs and have that spirit, it's always about, like, am I doing enough? Should I have done more? And of course, it's always like, are my agents doing something? You know?
Am I doing enough? Could I have done more? And my agent's at least doing something. I love it.
Right.
That's advice for all the leaders right there. Man, and I love that. I think that success leaves clues, and I think there's a lot of what I would consider top performers or elite humans or people that accomplish things. And I think some of the thought tracks that you shared there, a lot of those people have in common. I've interviewed many of them on this podcast and friends with many of them, and they're always wondering instead of like reading their own press clippings and starting to think that they've arrived, a common denominator that I've seen in people that continue to win are the ones that still have that hunger, and what they're looking for is like, man, if I knew back then what I know now, what would have happened? Like, and man, could I have worked a little harder? Did I leave it all in the field? Could I have done more? And it's that mentality that I think continues to allow you to grow and to grow as a human and grow in your business. Would you agree?
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
And where do you think that mentality comes from?
I think that I had a lot of difficulty with figuring that out. And I don't know that I have. Um, but part of my growth as a leader was getting to the point where I could have acceptance without clarity.
Mm,
Why has everybody always thought I was different? Why did people think my ideas were crazy? Why did I always have to hold back of how I really felt or what I wanted to do in life or in business for fear that other people were gonna, think of me a certain way? Why do I feel like I need to do more? Why do I feel like I'm not reaching my full potential? And I tried to figure those things out for a long time. And what I realized is that I can accept that for just being what it is without having clarity on
yeah.
why. And so whenever I made that shift, it made me realize that everything in life that I was doing was bringing me to this moment and then the next moment. And it was guiding me towards being a better leader. It was always about leadership. But I had to go through that process of not being able to understand why I was being called into that role. But now when I look around and I see how all the team members' lives have been changed
Yeah.
and their kids' lives have been changed, and they're becoming leaders of their own family and the community. Now I understand that I always felt that way and I always had that pull, and I didn't have to understand why. It was my purpose pulling me in that direction towards leadership. And in my life, that's what I'd always lacked. Whether it was in sports or other businesses or things I did along the way, like anytime I was winning, but I didn't feel like I'd won, or any failures that I ever had was because there was a lack of leadership. It started with self-imposed leadership
Mm,
that allowed me to have the ability and the courage to hold the standard and demand more of others and also be a leader for them.
mm.
And so once I realized that it was always about leadership and I need to stop trying to figure out why and just accept that calling and accept that role, everything changed. And I think a lot of like what you see as far as the growth of that team is me accepting my identity as a leader and letting that have its impact and influence on the people that trust in me.
Dude, so good. Um, Very well said. There's a lot of stuff in there. So the quote that I got from that is it's okay to have acceptance without clarity. How many people won't accept the thing that's right there in front of them because they don't understand it. And I think you said it very well is that you don't always have to understand it and sometimes you never will. But that doesn't mean you can't accept it, right? And I think some of the best things in life are things that we don't fully understand, right? Like, I mean, for me, I'm a person of faith. I don't fully understand that, but I have faith. I believe, right? I don't fully understand what my calling is. I don't fully understand what my purpose is, but I know for a fact when I'm around high performing individuals, I'm having an impact in their life and I'm collaborating at a high level and I'm contributing to them. They're contributing to me. And I have like literally chills come through over through my body. I know I'm doing something on the right path. Right. And so what is really cool about that is that whenever you find that and you can like get that feeling, Dustin and I talk about this. One of my good friends talk about this a lot is like, that's better than money, right? Like there's nothing wrong with money. And I think every person should have more money. With more money, you can do more good, you can help more people. And so you should have more money. But when you can find something that's more powerful than money in your life, life changes. And you mentioned leadership, and I want to circle back to that in a minute. But you said after that, underneath leadership, and that's you feel like that's what you've been called for. That was what's missing. Um, you mentioned leading yourself, self leadership. And I think one of the things that I see people struggle with and it holds them back is number one, they haven't accepted because they're waiting on clarity, right? So very well said. But also, they struggle leading others because they struggle leading themselves. And so you mentioned like holding standards or enforcing standards. And the leaders that I have conversations with that are winning are able to enforce the standards and they're able to just hold the line. The ones that struggle with that are the ones that maybe that stuff shows up in their life and it's a reflection of them and they don't want to be a hypocrite. And because they're a good human, they don't feel right holding the standards. And so they let other people slide or slip or allow less than the standard or allow less than what they're capable of because that's a reflection of how they're showing up in their own life. And so I would love to unpack your brain a little bit more about what was the light bulb that clicked for you? How did self leadership really um, evolve for you, and how have you used that to become a better leader and help make an impact in other people's lives?
Yeah. So we know, we know if we're living up to the standard that we hold or not.
Mm,
We always know if we could have done more, or if we could have acted better, or if we could have not done certain things or done more of other things. And so nobody really truly knows what a person's full potential is other than themselves. Nobody knows if you could have given more other than yourself. So exploring that, like, okay, we're at a birthday party and there's cake. I choose not to eat the cake. The rest of my life, I would have just crushed it. I'm coming around for seconds, But
yeah,
no,
give
you
me
can
an
put,
extra scoop of ice cream on that cake,
yeah,
right?
exactly. But now you can put it in front of me, I won't touch it because I have a standard for my health.
Mm,
And so you have a standard for your growth. You have a standard for your performance. And as leaders, what we find out is like people aren't willing to do what we're willing to do. A lot of times they just don't have the capacity or they're not there at that time in their life. So we're already able and willing to do more than most people. And so also most people will say, you're great. You're amazing. The things you're accomplishing are unreal and other people could never do that. But a lot of times we know
yeah.
it's not there. It might look good to you, but for me, like I'm disappointed in myself because I didn't hold the standard, because I didn't meet my full potential, because I could have done more. And you might not know that, and you might think it's great, but I know it, and I have to live with that. And so I think whenever you bring yourself up to a standard where like I'm no longer going to allow that of myself, then it's much easier for everybody else that's involved with you to start raising up. So they might not come to the standard that you're at, but just being in your presence and knowing how you are is going to ultimately raise their standards as well. Once again, it's about leadership. It starts with internal, the decisions and the choices that you make and what you're going to do with your life and how it's going to impact how you interact with everyone that you care about and everyone who cares about you.
So good. There's a couple things, man, that's really, really good. I think that there's a differentiator between elite humans and average. And I think that, funny enough, elite home team, elite humans, right? David's team's name is Elite Home Team in Louisiana. And I think that society has conditioned us in this day and age that average is okay. It's okay to do well, you did your best when it really wasn't your best. Um, the and I'm not going to get political, but like the participation trophy and like everybody's a winner. It's like I don't buy it. Like there are winners and there are losers, and there's nothing wrong. If you lose, you learn. Cool. That's how you get better. But I think that the innate ability for you to self-reflect, to look internal and have an honest conversation with yourself about did you really give it your all? Because what happens is if we dive into it for external validation and we are looking for approval of others, we will never fully reach our potential and we will never be satisfied. And if we are, it's fleeting because we're relying on someone else to give it to us. And I think so many people are looking for that and they're looking for the pat on the back. And also, I believe some of the people in our lives that are like, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I have, is like, when's enough enough? I had that conversation this weekend. Like, Matt, when's enough enough? And I flipped out. Like, what kind of question is that? Never. What do you mean? I'm never going to reach my full potential because I can always get better. And I'm doing everyone around me a disservice if I don't chase that best version of myself every single day. Well, that's a little obsessive. Yeah, thank you. Like, obsessed is a word that the lazy use to describe the dedicated. Like, when did obsessed become a bad thing? Like I'm obsessed with becoming a best version of myself. I'm obsessed with becoming a better leader. I'm obsessed with making an impact and changing the lives of the people around me. And that's a bad thing? And I think so many people in society are just looking again external validation and other people's standards that they project onto us. And where I see people get stuck, and I've dealt with this too, and I've had to overcome this and grow my identity like you shared, is because it's me versus me. It's not me versus this person or me versus that person. It's me versus the person that I'm capable of becoming. And whenever we do things for societies or other people's in our lives, validation or recognition, then we are doing ourselves a disservice because they see it through their lens, not through ours. And like you said it beautifully, we are the only one that knows. You know if you gave it your all. And I believe I'm gonna go down a path here. I probably shouldn't, but whatever. I believe that a lot of the problems that we have in today's society of anxiety and depression and all of these craziness, mental health, there are exceptions. So let me just have that asterisk. But I also believe there are a lot of those people that the way out of that would to be have an honest conversation with themselves and realize that the reason that they're having these struggles is because they're not living to their full potential and they're not willing to admit that to themselves because it could hurt their own feelings. But awareness is the first step. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. But when you're relying on external things for you to become better or you to feel better, that's a slippery slope. And one of the things that I've learned in personal development is that it's like it's me versus me. And if I can't be in alignment or in integrity with self, I can't be in alignment with anything else outside of self. And I think you said it very, very well is that you've got to be able, like, you know, right? You know if you gave it your all, you know if you actually played all out, you know. And it's not you versus someone else's scoreboard of what you accomplished. Someone else may say, "Oh my gosh, you built the team. Matt, you built the team that sold 650 homes 5+ years in a row." Yeah, so what? I don't have my identity is not tied to that. My identity is tied to am I becoming a better version of myself every day? It's like me versus myself. And whenever you play that game, then it doesn't become comparison, it doesn't become jealousy. There's like none of that. It's you can live in abundance and you can actually chase a better version of you each and every day. And so I think a lot of people will be very well served to go back and listen to how you shared that and how you communicated that because it's so true. I think so many people are trying to put up a score on the scoreboard that to please someone else versus pleasing themselves.
Definitely. Definitely. I think as far as growth, sometimes I hear people say, I need a mental health day. And so, like, I agree. People need that, but I just have a different version. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think having a mental health day is getting under a blanket on a couch and just sitting with dim lights and watching TV. I think it's going out into the world and freaking crushing it.
Yes, sir.
You ever go out into the world and have a successful day, feel like you accomplished something, you won? That's the best mental health day you can have. But if you just go jump on a couch, you're going to feel the same way tomorrow. You have to keep growing. It's imperative to continue to grow. And any time in life where we stop growing, that's where you start feeling burnt out.
Yep.
It's impossible to be in growth and reaching for something better and be burnt out at the same time. So like if we stop and we become stagnant, everything's over. We have to make progress every single day. And we are the only ones that know that. And, I really felt like a lot of times in my life, I was really like pushing the limits because I was able to accomplish things that maybe other people tried and didn't do or would never even like make an attempt at.
Yep.
And I was pushing the limits, but at a certain point, I realized that I was really just pushing the limits of average.
Yeah.
And there's difference between pushing the limits of average and having everybody applaud you and pushing the limits of your full potential. And those two things are there's a huge gap between that. But you don't realize what that is until you push through the limit of average and the norms that society have or what's expected of you or what you can accomplish in life or what kind of impact you have. But once you cross that barrier and you break through that limit, there's a whole nother world out there. And you realize that it's much bigger than you.
Yeah.
And once you get a feel for that, it's almost like you're forced into always pursuing more because it's no longer about what you can accomplish for yourself. It's about the impact that you can have on everybody that's connected to you.
It's so good, man. So good. One of the things that I believe is a fallacy that I don't know where it comes from, but people want us to believe that like the when is enough people, right? And it doesn't maybe always come from a bad spot, but I just want people to really realize that like if you are going to achieve versus if you are doing things to achieve or to get to a destination versus doing things to become, you're going to always be unfulfilled. And I want people to be happy and I want people to be fulfilled life and I want them to have the passion that I have on what I get to do each and every day. Right. And so I just shared them with the truth. But like, I think this idea of like, once I make X amount of money, once I sell X amount of real estate, once my team gets so big, then I've arrived and I've made it. It's just not real. Because once you get there, I will tell you, as someone who's overachieved a lot of things that I never thought were possible, it doesn't feel how you think it will feel when you get there. And even if it does, it disappears in an instant and it's gone. And then if your identity is tied to you achieving that thing, now you feel empty inside. And what I want people to realize is if you can do the work that David's sharing here and you can go to become, and it's you versus you, not, and you're becoming a better version of yourself, not just going to achieve external things, that's when you get that true fulfillment in life. That's when you get that true like pull that he's talking about to get you to become a better version of you. And I have a theory too. I think there's a lot of talk in people are chasing happiness. And I think people should be happy. I want them to be happy. But I think they have the wrong diagnosis. Because here's what I have realized is you don't become happy and then get productive. Productive people are always happy people. And so if you chase productivity and you are honest with yourself about the things you need to accomplish and you check the boxes and you do what you know you're supposed to do to win the day versus like here's an example that everyone can relate to. I share this with my team all the time. It's stupid simple example, but everyone can relate. Is if you wake up and you have an initiative, you want to lose 20 pounds. And you're like, I got to wake up an hour earlier so I can go to the gym before I get, to add to my day. And the alarm goes off and you hit snooze and you sleep in and you don't go to the gym. You have that hanging over in your subconscious, over the back of your brain that you've subconsciously wired yourself that you didn't keep the promise you made to yourself. And it's really hard to have a good day after that. You got to try really hard. Day two, your alarm goes off. You wake up. You still don't want to go. You drag yourself in. You have the worst workout of your life, but you still did it. How do you feel? You feel like Rocky on top of the stairs. I did it, baby. You're on top of the world. You feel better than like there is no drug that can give you that feeling. And it's because you simply did what you said you were going to do and you kept the promise you made to yourself. Imagine if you could just live life through, you know what, when I say something, I mean it and I do it. and your word becomes your bond to yourself. That's when life becomes better. That's when things become easier. That's when you get true joy and fulfillment because you don't have this subconscious hanging over your head of the things that you know you were supposed to do that you didn't do. And so, yeah, stagnant doesn't exist. You're either getting better or worse. And if you're staying stagnant, the people that like to argue with that and say, well, you can stay stagnant. Okay, great. Maybe you stay stagnant, but someone else passes you by because the world is evolving, the world is going. And so even if you are able to stay stagnant, which I don't think you can, but even if you could, the world is still passing you by. So you are by default getting worse. You're getting better, getting worse every day. That's the truth. Cool. I want to circle back to for you to go on this massive run that you've been on. You're going to double your team 2 years in a row from 100 and 113. Is that what it was?
Uh, well, yeah, last year we did 335. We're going to probably do about 600 or so this year.
But in 2024 is 100 and
140.
140. Okay. So from
Yeah.
140 to 330 to over 600.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yep. Man, if you could dial it down to like, what was the one thing? What was the one lever, the biggest change that led you on this massive run that you're on? What is that one change?
I have two things.
Okay.
One is belief. The other is vision. And they're tied together. One is my agents believe. They believe in themselves. They didn't come to me that way a lot of times. Real estate's brutal, especially for new agents trying to figure it out. 90% are out in 2 years, right?
Yep.
So a lot of them, they're just getting started or they had bad experience somewhere else. Whenever they come to me, they a lot of times they've been beaten up. Or they're doing well. They're doing 5 mil a year and it's a good living, but they expected and wanted more and they can't figure out how to get over the hump. So bringing the belief back to them. At some point, they got together with their wife, their girlfriend, their mom, their parents, whatever. They said, hey, I believe in myself enough to get into this profession, 100% commission. I'm going to go into real estate school. I'm going to get licensed. They did DoorDash or Uber or whatever it is on the side so that they could get enough money to pay for everything. And they got licensed. They got in here and they found out that it was a lot different than what they expected. And so a lot of times when the agents come to me, they've been crushed. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, they don't know if they can do real estate. So one of the things that I help them with is start to believe in themselves again. And so like, what did it look like for you? What were your plans? What were you trying to accomplish? How would it feel if you had done that? What got in the way? If we could tweak a few things, do you think you could get there? I think you can. So I create an environment where they start to believe in themselves and that original belief that they had when they decide to get in real estate. I bring them back to that moment and have them believe. And then I also get them to realize or feel that I believe in them as well. And so now if you have an environment where all these agents are coming into trying to get into production or raise their production and they now believe in themselves and they know that their leader also believes in them, that creates something magical.
Really good.
And they're coming out of this world that's been very tough on them. And they've lost belief in themselves. And you know what? Like their wives or their husbands or their boyfriends, girlfriends, like they started to like lose belief too. Maybe you should go get a real job. Maybe this wasn't for you. And so for me, it's heartbreaking to think that somebody's got to go back home to their wife and say, like, babe, I tried to figure this out. I gave it a year. Like, I know we're busted financially. Like, we can't do this.
Yep.
So that drives me. I don't want that to happen. And so if I can create a situation where they now believe in themselves and they think that I believe in them, and after they've been beaten up and nobody else believes in them in the entire world, I'm that guy, it creates a bond. Now they don't want to let me down. Now we hear like all the top teams, they talk about the same things. Like, is there discipline? Is there commitment? Is there consistency? And to bring it all together, like, what's the standard?
Yeah.
Can you hold your team to a certain standard? Well, now, if they don't want to let you down, if they don't want you to think that they're not the person that you believe they are, it's much easier to get them to hold that standard. They're bought in. So getting
Really,
the agents to that level where they don't want to let themselves down, they don't want to let me down, holding that standard that they daily activities get done has been massive as far as like agents getting out there and selling.
really good.
And
Really
the
good.
other thing is vision. It can't be about like how much money we're going to make or how many houses we're going to sell. Like what is the true vision? Like what are we doing here? Why do we have this team? Well, what's the purpose? Is it just so the team lead can get rich? Is it like just to so splits can go to the brokerage and go to the team? It's not. It's got to be so much bigger. And so creating an environment that people are involved with something that's bigger than themselves. You only can accomplish that through vision. So what's the vision? What are we doing? And so for us, it's we know like personally, I have no fulfillment from selling homes. I could scrap the team and go sell solo and be fine, but there's no fulfillment in that for me. What's fulfilling for me is somebody saying 10 years from now, like, man, I was trying to figure things out and I ran across this guy, David, and like I figured things out. And so the team has provided that platform for people. People have come here and they've been completely broken and turned into top producers. And they're financially solid. They can breathe. They can
Yep.
just breathe again. And so our responsibility as a team is to reach as many people as possible to give them that same opportunity and to spread that and create a ripple effect that affects not only like the agents on the team, not only their family and their kids, but eventually other agents. And if we have agents that are coming into it and they believe in themselves, they believe in the team, they believe in the vision, they feel like they're part of something that's bigger than themselves, not only is it affecting everybody internally, but all the buyers and sellers that they work with in the marketplace, they feel that same energy. So all of a sudden you have this energy and this ripple effect that's going forward, boom, boom, boom. It ends up all over the place.
Yep.
So it's got to be bigger than just selling houses. And I feel like for us, the belief systems of all the agents, the vision of what the team is trying to accomplish and the platform it's providing for people, when you put those two things together, you have explosive growth and you have other agents want to be a part of it.
Really good. Because you're creating a movement, right? Like you said it beautifully, is that people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They just need somebody to step up and lead, right?
That's the
And,
big thing.
yep. And leadership doesn't mean you're in a position of authority. Like a lot of people think leadership is permission to do less. Leadership is not permission to do less. Leadership is a responsibility to do more. And so many people have it backwards. Really, really good stuff, man. I'm curious, what has been the biggest obstacle? Because we're talking about your successes, right? What's a big obstacle that you overcame that that you really learned a big lesson from to get here?
The answer is always the same.
What is it?
Not a good enough leader.
Can
Not
you
a
give
good
me can you give me an example? You don't have to go too specific, but what give me a tangible example of when you feel like a part of the hurdle, part of the reason you didn't grow, or maybe an agent left, or whatever the situation was, and how leadership was the cause.
few examples off the top of my head. One is, and you mentioned it previously, letting things slide. You can't, you as a leader, you cannot let things slide. They have to be addressed. And it might not be comfortable. You might not want to do it. You might really like the person that you're going to speak with, and you have to have a negative conversation with them. You cannot let things go. And sometimes that means that people just aren't a good fit for the team and they can't be a part of it. You can't have a few people that are bringing the whole team down, especially whenever it's about the energy of the team. It's about the momentum of the team. So as a leader, like you have to do everything you can to protect that energy and protect that momentum and continue the growth for not only the team, but everybody individually on the team. And so if you don't make quick decisions and quick moves as a leader and remove people, then that festers, it's contagious, it's infectious, and that is not a team problem. That is not a culture problem. That's a leadership problem.
So good. So good, man. I wrote down on my notes here is that one of the things that I say to my team all the time, and I say that in team meetings, I say it when we meet quarterly, and I say it with our new agents is like what we're building here is different. Like the whole is bigger than the part, meaning that I don't mean this in a bad way, but the team is bigger than you. The team is bigger than me. And so what I say is the whole is bigger than the part, but when the part serves the part receives back tenfold. Meaning I look at a great culture with a great leader as like a bank, right? And the analogy I give is if you go to the bank tomorrow and you take out money, David, what do they call that?
Withdrawal.
They would if I had said you deposited money, but I didn't. So it's called stealing. They'll throw your ass in jail for that, right? But how many people come to a workplace with their hand out and saying, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get? What do I get? They try to withdraw before they deposit. And you're coming into a culture, you're coming into an environment and you're stealing. And then you wonder why you just go from place to place to place to place. And there always seems to be a problem. Well, the problem could be the person in the mirror. And what that takes and how you change that is it takes someone to step up and lead and say, we don't do that here. We need team players. Team has to be first. Because if we don't protect the team first, then we don't have a team for everyone to come to. These people are trusting me to serve their families. Like they eat based upon what we do in this environment, and it's my responsibility to protect it. I don't ask for perfection, but we got to be in alignment with these values. We got to make sure we behave. We got to make sure we do what's best for the team because what is best for the team is always best for the individual. And so, man, very well said. Because I think that's one of the things that I see people struggle with, especially as you start to cultivate more top producers. Like we still got to find a way to hold the line while still giving them opportunity to grow, right? Because a top producer that isn't in alignment with the culture or maybe is undermining the culture is the most toxic thing that you can have. And team leaders look at that and they look at the income that that person could make, but they don't look at the long-term impact that that could make. And speaking from experience, I've let go of a couple of big producers in our organization because they were not in alignment with the culture. And it was a tough decision, but it really wasn't. It was easy. It sucked and it was hard and it was a terrible financial decision in the short term, but we wouldn't be where we are without it. And so, like, I've let go of our top producer twice in our organization over the history, right? One of them sold 100 homes in her first year. It just, she grew out of alignment with the culture, right? And she was focused on the money and focused on the dollar. And a couple principles I'll share with leaders that I would encourage you to instill into your organization. And if you're an agent, guess what? You can be the leader that brings this to your organization as well. And organizations are looking for informal leaders all the time. But there's a couple of principles that I learned when I was young that I think really, really help people. And I think somehow it gets lost in society. And that is number one is that don't count other people's money. You don't have a clue what they have went through to get to where they are. And you really don't like it looks sexy on social media to be a team leader. But I see behind the curtains of a lot of teams. And it's very rare for a team leader to be making money. That's the truth. You just don't know. Secondarily is so don't don't count other people's money. And the next thing is I don't know if you've ever ran into this, but not only do people start counting other people's money, but they like get this extreme jealousy for what other people have and what they don't. And I think so many does any of that resonate with you before I go on? Like, have you had any of that? I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel you for sure.
Yeah. So you've had people that have come in and been like, well, I need more money because you're making all this money off of me. And they come in and they're focused on what everyone else is making instead of what they're doing.
Today.
You had that happen today?
Today. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to realize that we can't count on other people's money. It just doesn't work ever. Ever, ever, ever. There's not a time in the history of growing anything significant where you worried about what someone else is doing that it worked for everyone. It just doesn't work. And so I would just encourage you to realize that great leaders are able to pivot those conversations back into for them to look in the mirror and say, well, how is that in the best interest of everyone? Number one. And number two, if you had five more pendings right now, would this be a problem? So let's go get some more pendings, right? So anyway, I wanna ask you a couple more questions because I think there's some people that are going to be inspired. I know there's going to be people that are inspired by your story and where you've like how you've grown. I'm just curious if there's anything you've had tremendous growth, but is there anything knowing what you know now that you wish you would have done differently?
A few things, yeah. Bunch of it is, well, here's one. There's a big difference between goals and missions.
Okay.
And so a lot of times we set goals and we feel like that's what is important for us to accomplish. Those are just numbers. What we should set out to accomplish is the mission. The mission is the biggest thing. If you're accomplishing goals, you'll get there. You mentioned it a few minutes ago, you'll feel empty.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you won, and you will when they hand you that trophy. But then when you go home, it's over. There's nothing there. But you hit your goal. It's great, right? It's because you had no mission. What was a mission? If you accomplish missions, if you are on a mission, that means you have purpose. There's no purpose in goals. So for me, the realization was it's not about how many houses we sell. It's not about like our numbers. What are we actually trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
It's the mission. And to take your words, nobody is bigger than the mission. It's bigger than everybody. So when you take that mindset of like, what is the mission? We have to accomplish this mission at all costs. That takes you on a completely different path than we're going to try to sell 1,000 homes this year at all costs. That's empty. But if you fulfill your mission, if you met your true purpose, that's life. That's
Yep.
living.
Really good. And I think an example would be like, I think a lot of people will like, so we did EOS for a while and we still run EOS, but we hired an implementer to help us implement EOS in our organization, for about a year, maybe a little longer. And one of the things that we like developed within that was they call it a core focus, which is another word for a mission, right? If you've ever done EOS, you'll know that they like to trademark shit. So it's just another way for mission that they could trademark so no one else can say it. And so the core focus, and what was really interesting about this is that I had a group of leaders in the room, and and I said, while you guys are coming up with this core focus, i.e., the mission, like I'm going to step out of the room and I want you guys to come up with this. And I'm not saying that it would be the one, but like this whole thing's bigger than me. And so to prove it, like I'm going to step out and see what you guys come up with. Let me know when I can come back in. And I came back in, and guess what the leaders on my team came up with as our core focus? It
What's
wasn't
that?
make X amount of dollars. It wasn't sell X amount of homes. It was nothing it wasn't anything monetary. What it was we want to change the lives of 500,000 people. So our core focus is changing lives. And then our 10-year target was the 500,000. And so we put every transaction has an impact on people's lives, both the agent, their family, the title company, the mortgage, the inspect, like it makes a big, big ripple effect. And so like whenever you're able to really impact that and realize that you can tell stories of the people that you help buy their first home or sell the house before they can move for the new job and they're all stressed about it, or we've helped people go from homeless to homeowner, and like all of the client stories. And then you get to a point where you can have agent stories where agents come in and they go from what you had shared like struggling to now they're like making more money than their biggest problem now is I got to pay too much money in taxes, right? And so it's just whenever you can really focus and emphasize on those things, you build something bigger than yourself, and then people start to believe and they want to be a part of it.
Definitely. Yeah. I
Man,
think another thing with,
yeah.
what I had done differently, there's two other things that came to mind. One is I know I have the ability to help people.
Hmm.
I definitely have learned I do not have the ability to save people.
Mm,
And so as a leader, you have to understand if you're in a situation where you can help or you're in a situation where somebody needs to be saved. You can't take all your emotional energy and mental energy towards saving a person that can't be saved in most cases. That's not your job. You,
so
you, you have to pull yourself away from that. All you can do is give them the opportunity, be a good leader for them, show them the way. They have to choose whether or not they're going to accept the leadership, willing to accept the help.
And dude, that's so good because so many leaders I see struggle with they have a savior complex. Like, and they do it because they're good people, but it turns into almost they're feeding their own ego unintentionally by like beating their chest and being like, I can save everyone. It's like you can't, right? Like they gotta want it. And so going from like you got to know the difference in helping people, giving them a hand up versus giving them a hand out, and also helping versus saving, right? Like my belief is there's only one savior in the world, and it's not Matter David, right? And so, like, I'm not here to save anyone. I'm here to help. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to change and impact lives of people. But you got to save yourself.
Yep,
Really,
definitely.
man.
And then the last thing is
Yeah.
it I would have learned quicker or allowed myself quicker to just take my hands off the wheel. Can't control everything. Can't be in every transaction. You can't force people to come to the office. You're not in control. Stop trying to be in control.
Yeah.
It's a very liberating feeling to just take your hands off the wheel and let what's supposed to happen, what you've created to grow and become what it's supposed to become.
So good, man. One of the things that a lesson I've learned there that you just reminded me of is that the truth is, and we could put this on a t-shirt. The truth is when you give up control, you regain power. People are looking to, like, they say I'm a control freak, or they tie their identity to those things, and like control isn't a good thing. Control is keeping things small. But when you remove from control and you give up control to people that you have trained and people that you trust and people that are there to contribute to the organization, when you allow them to have control over their stuff, now you get all of your power back as a leader. And that's a way better position to be in, is to be in a position of power versus a position of control.
You can
Um,
lead from
that's
there.
right. There you go. You can lead versus micromanage.
Exactly. Yep.
100%. Couple more questions, man, and then I know we both got busy schedules, so we'll wrap up. But dude, this has been so good. Time's flying. Um, what is the most important thing that you've learned about yourself as a leader this year?
I have a long way to go.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
I know my purpose is to make an impact in other people's lives. And I know that what I've done up to this point has been too small. And I feel like a lot of times in my life, I've held myself back, kind of what we talked about before, trying to fit into society, trying to just be like everybody else. I'm not. I'm okay with that. But I'm no longer going to allow that to let me stay small because now I know that my purpose is to help other people in a way that they might not be able to get on their own. And I've
So,
seen that if I'm able to accomplish that, if I'm able to unlock them, if I'm able to get to a place where I can see their potential and they can see it as well, it can be massive. And I've also seen the people that I've done that for, they've done that for other people. So they're paying it forward. I have to play much bigger. I have a long way to go, but I'm up for it.
love it. Really good. I'm curious, man. We started coaching what, 8, 9 months ago together.
About, yeah, yeah.
What would you say, just for people that, and this is not a pitch to coach with me. It's just I think that so many people try to go at this alone, and I think it's so important. Like I have more coaches now in my life than I've ever had. Like as you grow and scale, people think I don't need coach. Like that's our ego talking. Like the more success that you have, the more coaches you need, right? That's the truth. And so what impact has the coaching relationship that we've had on your journey so far that maybe was unexpected for you?
We have a lot of conversations like this. You think when you get a real estate coach, you're going to talk about real estate. But when you're a team lead, you don't need help with real estate.
Yeah.
You need help with everything else. When you're a team lead, there's a lot of times you cannot talk to anybody who's on your level or is experiencing the things that you're experiencing. They're just not out there. And if they are, they probably don't want to talk to you. So like the biggest impact that your coaching has made on me is we can just have real conversations about where I am, where my team is, where it needs to go. And it's not about some fancy lead that we need to buy or some service or anything like that. It's real. And it's leadership and it's identity and it's everything that creates the basis for more for everybody. So the biggest impact that this has had is I can have real conversations with somebody else that's been there already, that has built what I'm trying to build, and like understands all the issues and problems I'm running into because you already did that like 5 years ago and moved past it. So like it's had a massive impact on my business because I've been able to unlock things mentally and go places, internally that I would have not been able to explore or go on my own.
Really good, man. And like kudos to you. Like you've done the work. You apply at the rate of instruction. You always come prepared. You always have great questions. And I've seen you grow immensely as a leader in the time that we've coached together, in the way that you think, in the way that you speak and communicate. Dude, you've grown. It's no surprise to me your business has grown as quickly as it has because you have grown three, four, five times faster than that yourself, which is why you're
That's the coaching. I know it's not a coaching pitch for you, but that like I was on an upward trend, but when we started working together, it was explosive and it hasn't stopped. And that's because I was able to start becoming the person that I needed to become. And
love
so
it.
thank you for that.
Dude, thank you. It's coaching is another don't tell my coaching clients this, but I love it so much I would probably do it for free. Right. But it's one of the it started as a passion project for me. And it started as a like you mentioned, is when you're a team leader, sometimes it's lonely, right? And so in a way I'm helping and contributing, but I'm also like feeling a need for myself of like I get to have these conversations with you too that I look forward to, right? And so but it's really cool to be able to see these principles applied and what that like I don't know many team leaders that are over 100 transactions a year that have doubled it and then doubled it again. And there's two of us right here on this call today, right? That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, dude, I appreciate your time, and so proud of what you've done, what you've built, and I know you're just getting started. What are any parting words? Anything you want to leave the audience with today that's on your mind, on your heart?
If you start thinking that you can do something, just do it. Don't wait for anybody else's permission. Like you do not need anybody's permission to be great. If you're being called to something, accept it, go with it, and never stop.
That's it. That's mic drop right there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, David, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your contributions. This was, dude, I'm going to go back and re-listen. This was really good. So thank you. And guys, as always, we do this show to contribute. We do it to give back. So I know I'm not even going to ask if you got value. I know if you listen to this, there was value. And so I'm going to ask you to share this with a friend. And I'd ask this because it's really important for me to give back and continue pushing this onto other people and giving people episodes and giving people guidance and giving people somewhere if they're not in a spot where they can afford coaching, great. We can coach them from afar here. They got a coaching session for an hour from David and I here today. And so just share this message with a friend. I know this will make an impact in people's lives. This podcast continues to grow because of you guys' support. So please share this episode with a friend so we can keep pushing the mission forward and keep changing and impacting the lives of others. David, thank you again.
Thank you, Matt.
All right,
Honor.
guys, we'll see you next week.